this morning. You know, I used to be able to drive standard transmission no problem. But now with the trick knee, this is one of those spinning playground rides. Luckily, there were no kids around. They'd already been on it for 5 minutes, so they were over in the bushes barfing. Good thing Dalton wasn't with me. This is his car. Yeah, she's jammed on there pretty good. Just spins around in a circle. But I'm thinking, hey, wait a minute. This is New Year's Eve, and this rotating car could be converted into a dandy noisemaker. I got everything I need right here. Anybody with half a brain could do this. We do have music at midnight, so I hooked the speaker up to the 8-track, and right at the stroke of 12, we're going to be listening to Old Lang Syne, played by Guy Linguini and his Royal Custodians. But mainly what we need is noise. So I've attached a tambourine to my drive wheel. Meanwhile, I got maracas playing Wipeout on the windshield. And as a special treat, I wedged a trombone into the tailpipe. Not often you see a car with a horn in the back. I guess it's a guy thing. Okay, that's a good start. But when it comes to being annoying, we've only begun to scratch the surface. Snow fence is the perfect addition to a New Year's party because it's just like the guests. It stands around looking goofy, and then when you need it, it falls over. Hopefully it'll be as noisy as the guests, too, especially once these hockey sticks start raking across it. I think it's time for a test run. I got her in gear, and I hooked up this remote starter, so I don't even have to be in the car when it starts spinning. I pretty well thought of everything. All right, no, I'm fine. It's an embarrassing place to have a bruise, but after 35 years of marriage, sadly, no one's gonna notice. All right, let's pretend it's midnight. Let's do the countdown together. 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year! With a celebratory drink is an old custom. Goes way back to ancient times. I believe it was Julius Caesar who said, "Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your beers." Of course, now on New Year's Eve, you're actually supposed to be drinking champagne. But that can be a problem. What with French wine being so expensive and you being so cheap. So here's what you do. You make your own. Now start with a good-sized jug. Quantity is an important factor. I find with alcohol, people even like the bad stuff if there's plenty of it. So we're gonna make a magnum. Here again, magnum is a Latin word meaning humongous. Okay, you know, champagne has a bit of a zing to it. Even the smell tickles your nose. Well, you can get the same effect with vinegar. Ah, what the heck. It's New Year's. Okay, now you fill up the rest of your magnum with your favorite beer. Or whatever kind Dalton brought. He'll never notice. He'll be too busy chasing the shrimp ring. Okay, now we come to the fun part of champagne. And I don't mean that tipsy feeling you get when you start doing your Jimmy Stewart impression all night. No, no. I'm talking about the bubbles. Now, in real champagne, the bubbles come from, I don't know, grapes with air in them or something. And we're going to make our bubbles by adding baking soda to the vinegar we already got in there. But here's the thing. We don't want those chemicals mixing too soon. So get yourself some of these cold capsules and empty them into a glass. All right, and save all that for later, because someday you may have a cold and just drink the whole thing all at once. Won't do anything for your cold, but it'll give you something the doctors can cure. Okay, now you want to fill these capsules up with the baking soda. Yeah, all right, well, I've already done a few, so we'll just pop them into the magnum. Okay, now we just gotta get the cork in there for those chemicals, Mick. All right, now get yourself some chicken wire. It's not just for decoration anymore. You want to use that to hold the cork in place. And then for that little extra touch of class, get yourself some gold foil. Okay, by midnight, the capsules will be all dissolved in there. And that will allow the carbon dioxide to come firing off into the beer as the baking soda mixes in with the vinegar. So now all you gotta do is remove your fancy foil, take off your protective chicken wire off there, and if you put in enough vinegar, you shouldn't even need a corkscrew. So Happy New Year, or I should say, Happy New Beer. Remember, drink responsibly. You know, a lot of people like to commemorate New Year's Eve by having some type of audio-visual presentation in their backyard. Maybe firecrackers or a light show. It's their way of celebrating the beginning of a new year and also surprising the neighbors that they actually know what day it is. Now I know what you're thinking. Where are you going to find the money to do something like that? Or my wife won't let me have firecrackers. Or what the heck are you talking about, Red? Well, take it easy. With my idea, you don't need money or fireworks. All you need is a toaster. Well, actually, a few toasters. Got it? And we don't even need the whole toaster, just the elements from inside. I mean, they're perfect for our display, because you can bend them into shapes and they glow when they're hot. Don't you wish more things in life were that simple? Boy, I'm exhausted. That was a lot of swearing. Okay, now we got the easy part. We just form the elements into the letters for our New Year's Eve sign. See, this is the letter T. Today's Handyman Corner is brought to you by the letter T. Of course, now, if it doesn't work, it'll be the letter B. Because if she doesn't work, letter B. Okay, now we just form the rest of the letters and then join all the elements together, making a sign that's not only bright, but also toasty warm. Okay, our sign's all done, and I got the elements hooked up to these wires. And then to supply the electricity, I got the other end hooked into the power supply on one of my toasters. Now when I push down this little lever, we're gonna have an impressive display. But I gotta wait for night, because I got the control set on dark. Okay, we're all set. So let's send our lit New Year's message out to the world. Just a little something from all of us to each of you. Things about having a dog. Make a great companion, they'll protect you. They make the mailman think twice about delivering those bills. Problem is, what do you do when the dog gets dirty? Nobody enjoys bathing their dog. You get soaked, you get scratched, the dog doesn't get all that clean. I suppose you could get right inside the bathtub with the dog, but that's how you end up on the front page of the National Enquirer. Now I'm thinking, why not take the technology of an automatic car wash, make yourself an automatic dog wash? All you need is the standard lawn and garden stuff that everybody has around their house. And of course, a couple of dog houses, so you got room to mount all the gear. Now I'm gonna cut these dog houses in half so I can get inside to work on them. I suppose I could just crawl right inside the darn things, but after 35 years of marriage, I've been in there enough. I thought I'd show you how the whole thing works before I put the two halves back together here. Okay, first of all, I got my garden hose coming in, goes into one of these T-connectors here. Now, on the first leg of the T-connector, I'm going out into one of these outdoor window washer bottles, you know, the kind that hooks onto your hose. Of course, now I dumped the window washer fluid out of there, replaced that with dog shampoo. The dog actually turns the soap on himself with this string I got tied to the trigger of the machine, and then the other end, I got a dog biscuit hanging there. And I'll tell you, by the time he finishes chewing on that baby, he'll have worked himself into a lather. Now, on the other side of my T-connector, that goes down into the lawn sprinkler you see there, and that'll rinse all the soap off the dog, plus give him a great underwash for those hard-to-get-at places. Then he just moves on down the line until his head comes up against the blade of this hockey stick, and that turns on my leaf blower dog dryer. Okay, let's just get the pieces back together and we're in business. Okay, I got the dog wash blocking the only exit from the yard. Now I just need to entice the dog to come out through it. Actually, there are only two things that'll motivate a dog, and since this isn't mating season, I'm going with food. And that's all you need, though, to make your own dog wash. So remember, the women don't find you handsome, they should at least find you handy. About how living in the country isn't as good as living in the city. They say there's nothing to do, no fancy restaurants or crack houses or anything. Personally, I like living in the country. You know, it's a place where a creative person can express himself on a limited budget, and where the local building bylaws tend to be under-enforced. I'll show you what I'm talking about. This here is a dining tent where you can go in there and enjoy a meal without the flies and mosquitoes getting in there. Or if you like flies and mosquitoes, you can take them in there with you, and the tent will stop them from getting out. Well, today, I'm going to turn this rural dining tent into a swank, urban, revolving restaurant. Okay, the first thing I need is something to use as rollers. I went with these 4-inch sewer pipes because that's the size the road construction crew was using. Now, once I get them all spread out, I'm going to need a platform for my tent to sit on. I'm going to use these sheets of plywood right here, and I figured I needed a 16-foot diameter circle. So I had my dog on an 8-foot leash and just let him walk around me. Now all I have to do is cut along the paw prints, and I've got my platform. I'm using this fire hydrant as an anchor for the whole unit. It's strong, it's not going anywhere, and I figure it'll come in handy for when I have my kitchen fire. Now all I do is lay my board on over top of these rollers, and I'm gonna put them down with the road signs facing up. That way it'll feel like we're traveling all over the world. Well, all over my world. For those of you who studied physics, you know, in the detention center or whatever, you know that it doesn't take much power to turn a wheel, as long as the wheel is big enough and you apply the force to the very outside edge. So I got a wire brush hooked into my electric drill here. I got her locked in the on position. All I gotta do is plug her in and we're in business. Oh, yeah, one more thing. Be sure to run your extension cord up through the center of the unit, because if you run it on the outside, and when the platform turns, there can be problems. Okay, we're all ready for the final step, adding the restaurant. I bet they don't have anything like this in the city. So remember, if the women don't find you handsome, they should at least find you handy. Let's take this restaurant for a spin, huh? Hey, wouldn't a drink of water go good now? Now, winter's coming. Days are getting colder, nights are getting longer. Got to get one of these units out because they got a whole season of scraping ice and snow off your car, and you think to yourself, is this the way rich people live? Well, no, sir, they don't. They have one of those fancy remote car starter units where they can start the car from inside their house. They don't even go near it until she's all warmed up and all the ice and snow is melted right off her. Why can't you have something like that, huh? You have to be rich or know somebody? Well, no, you don't have to be rich. And you do know somebody. Me. All you need is an electric drill, tire iron, and a broom. I can show you how it all works, but I'm sure you've already figured it out. All right, I got one end of the tire iron tightened into the chuck of my drill, and then I got the whole unit duct taped to the ignition key here. And then what I did is I duct taped the broom onto the tire iron itself, got the butt end of the handle resting on the gas pedal, so I can now start the car from inside my home with the butt end of myself resting on the recliner. Okay, run into a bit of a snag here. The choke sticks on this car. I need some way of opening up this butterfly valve on the carburetor, or this unit will never start. Now, I hope you young people are noticing out there that I'm not going to quit on something just because it got difficult. You'll learn that as you get older. But as soon as you quit on what you set out to accomplish, your wife will come up with 100 other ways to wreck your weekend. So instead, I'm running this little chain down from the inside of the hood, but I'll hook that onto the butterfly valve, and that way, as soon as the hood opens, that'll unstick my choke. How am I going to open the hood? Can you say garage door opener? See what happens when you doubt a person? All right, step one. I want to pump the gas a couple of times. Step two, unstick the choke. And step three, the easiest one of all, start the car. This week on Handyman Corner, I'm going to show you how you can put a skylight in your van. It's going to beautify the thing, it's going to increase the value and make it a lot more fun to drive. Heck, it's such a great idea, I'm almost tempted to try it on my own van. But who am I kidding? Let's get the bugs out first by doing it on Buster Hatfield's van. Okay, you're going to need a variety of tools here and a pane of glass. Need another pane, Harold. Okay, we got our tools and we got our glass. Let's get to work. Need another pane, Harold. All right, got myself a storm window here that'll do just fine. What we gotta do is get the putty out of there to get the... Oh, come on, Junior. Winter's 5 months away. All right, well, we won't worry about the glass right now. We'll punch a hole for our skylight. All right, I would put the skylight right here over the driver's seat. And, of course, before we can use the saw, we're gonna need a pilot hole. I would say put it right about there. Or there. Just double check and make sure I'm working on the right van. Yeah, it's not mine. All right, there's the hole for our skylight. I'm just laying in a bead of caulk in there. You don't want rain dripping down the back of your neck. Of course, I guess it won't bother you so much if you first had caulking dripping down the back of your neck. All right, let's get the glass. All right, now the difference between a handyman and a hobbyist is, well, the ability to take someone's hobby and turn it into something handy. The handy thing is a van skylight. The hobby thing is an aquarium. So find yourself an empty aquarium, or empty yourself a found aquarium. And you know, these aquariums come in a bunch of different sizes, so if you got a real fat head, you might want to step up to a 45-gallon. And there you have it. Sure, the inside of the van might smell a little fishy, but it just goes with the upholstery. And the beauty of having a unit like this is, you know, if you get lost or something, you can just pop right up here, or you can look around, or When you go to the drive-in, you're gonna be up above everybody else. Balcony seating. You know how you always have a kid in the back saying, geez, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Well, heck, why not put in a skylight for him too? Then he can see for himself if he's there yet. Can't wait to show this to Buster. So remember, if the women don't find you handsome, they should at least find you handy. The teenage years are painful, difficult, and awkward. And not just for the parents. Especially if the teens get interested in hobbies like knocking over liquor stores or beating up the elderly. And the most dangerous stuff in life happens late at night, which you proved during their conception. So the best way to prevent bad things from happening is to get your kids to come home at a decent hour. To do that, you need something to attract them. You know, other than the $5,000 worth of video games and computer equipment you bought them. You need a lure, a teen trap. See, when a teenager gets home, first place he goes is the fridge. A fridge door has magical powers that draws in all teenagers. Maybe it's from the magnets on there, I don't know. But the same kid who can't focus on the blackboard for 30 seconds will spend an hour bent over staring into this baby. So take that power and use it. On the front of your house. Now when your kid's out at night, dancing or throwing rocks at traffic or whatever, you'll remember this fridge door and you'll want to come running home to see what's inside. And here's an added bonus. You'll never be able to sneak into the house. Now, over the years, many of my best friends have been blessed with sudden good fortune. And golly, did they ever think to share any of it with me? Well, now the table is turned. Literally. I recently became the owner of a number of highway signs as a result of a heavy windstorm and my own chainsaw. And what did I do with this good fortune? How about a dining room table for people on the go? Or a tray for serving drinks to people who are getting a little carried away? Or what if you like to sit outside? Or maybe the people in your family force you to sit outside. Well, how about a highway sign Muskoka chair? But what if you're not handy? What do you do then? Kill yourself, I guess. I'm just kidding you. No, you can just use the signs just the way they are. Put one on the bathroom. Heck, put one in the bathroom. And you can put one on the bedroom door. And a whole bunch more inside. That last one glows in the dark. Oh, look, it's Harold's room. My wife wants me to be healthier, so she gave me one of these walks to cook with. A few years ago. Now, I know there are a lot of really bad walk jokes. Walk this way, or if I could walk that way, I wouldn't need the frying pan. Or the incredibly juvenile, you can tell by the way I use my walk. I'm a ladies' man, no time to talk. Well, see, those are just the kind of stupid jokes that Harold would do. I'm above that. Now, Bernice says that if I can heat up some oil and slice a few vegetables, I can make a healthy meal in about 10 minutes. Well, heck, I can open a bag of pork rinds in a lot less than 10 minutes. Okay, the point is, maybe I should give this healthy cooking a try, but I'm telling you, cooking one meal at a time, I don't think that's going to make me healthy. And my doctor agrees with me. He told me I could use a big walk every day. See with this, baby? I can make a whole month's worth of meals at one time. It's actually Junior Singleton's old satellite dish, or as I call it, the walk of life. Okay, she's good and hot. Now it's time to add the oil. Lots of ways we can go here. Canola, olive, or my personal favorite, 10W30. Golly, a meal that smells like a stock car race. These beets were made for walking. stir frying is to stir while you're frying. I figured that out myself, actually. Man, it's getting pretty hot here. Oh yeah, and also you don't want to scratch your super wok, so make sure you use something plastic. Remember, if women don't find you handsome, they should at least find you healthy. You see my wife? Tell her I went for a walk. Talk these days about fossil fuels and how the depletion of the rainforest is melting the icebergs and drowning all the whales. So now they got a whole bunch of engineers trying to make cars out of recycled styrofoam cups and gasoline out of cow patties. But you know, sometimes when you can't find the answer looking forward, you should look back. Back in time. This clock stood in the Possum Lake Town Square for 75 years. Then last summer, they got a grant to spruce up downtown, so they put up some spruce and tore down the clock. Now they got a big digital one on top of City Hall. People driving by think it's the price of gas. Probably because it goes up every minute. You know, this clock is kind of like the ideal lodge member. Strong, dependable, and you only have to wind it up once a year. They say the whole world is looking for a cheap, reusable, environmentally friendly fuel. Well, I got the key. Got the clock mounted and connected to the drivetrain. You know, a clock is really just a bunch of gears. So I went to the highest gear to get the maximum horsepower, and I ran a long bicycle chain around it, through the sunroof, and down through the floor of the car, and hooked it around another sprocket that I duct taped to my drive shaft. You know, I didn't even have to cut a hole in the floorboards. That's the beauty of using an older vehicle. Now, I needed a pendulum to make the clock work. The original one was about 10 feet long. I didn't have that kind of room, so I just added some horseshoes to a pickaxe. That should make the clock work fine. People always said I had horseshoes up my something. They just had the location wrong. All right, let's see how our new engine works. Okay, thank goodness I only have to do that once a year. I sound like Dalton's wife. Anyway, I see by the big clock on my roof that it's time to take this baby for a spin. So remember, if the women don't find you handsome, they should at least find you handy. Now, if you excuse me, I gotta go save the planet. That point in your life when you realize that you're not all that special? Or more importantly, has your wife realized it? Well, today I'm going to show you how to get the attention and respect of your neighbors. Unless, of course, they've met you, but hey, that's not my fault. You know when you look at pictures of fancy houses in these magazines, and take a look at your own house, you notice the difference? I'm not talking about the nice trees and the no tarps on the roof and the lack of K-car turned upside down on the front lawn. I'm talking about that fancy gingerbread trim they have on the eaves of some of the nice-looking houses. Wouldn't your house look good with that kind of trim on it? Oh, I know what you're thinking. Where am I going to get the money to do that? Or how am I going to pull that one off? Or, hey, wait a sec, I'm not even married. Well, you know, like so many things in life, a lot of time the answer's right in your own backyard. Chances are you got a bunch of toys that you don't use anymore because your kids have grown up and gone. Or maybe your grandfather charged them all on your Visa card before you had him picked up. Well, I got some great news for you, because this isn't just junk lying around your yard any longer. In about one coat of paint from now, It's going to be your beautifully decorative gingerbread trim. Okay, now, if you use that pinning technique, you may get a little bit of overspray there. You'll never even see that once the snow flies. Now you just take all your decorative items around to the front lawn. Your sconces, your finicules, your bric-a-brac, whatever. Then you just attach everything to your eaves in an artistic yet subtly symmetric pattern. Oh yeah, one other rule. Inflatable toys don't like staple guns. And there we go. Bring the ladder down so we can get a better look. Oh. Yeah, that's got it. Okay, now what did that cost us, eh? A gallon of paint, a back lawn, and a couple of muscle spasms. Well worth it. So remember, if the women don't find you handsome, they should at least find you handy. Speaking of which, this project will make your wife feel pretty darn special. The neighbors are really gonna notice you now.